Hi. For my multicultural literature study, I did Number the Stars, and by Lois Lowry. Number the Stars is a historical fiction book. This book is about a young Christian girl named Anne Marie who's living in Denmark during the time when Nazi Germany occupied their country. Anne Marie is best friends with a young Jewish girl named Ellen, and Number the Stars is written for grade levels, I'd say 5th through 8th, but you could go higher, like 9th or 10th. So just a short summary. Number the Stars takes place in 1943 in Denmark. During this time, Nazi Germany occupied Denmark for the past 3 years. So that would be like 1940 when they started occupying Denmark. And the book is centered around two friends, Anne Marie Johansen and Ellen Rosen. Anne Marie comes from a Christian family while Ellen comes from a Jewish family. So the story starts out with Anne Marie and Anne Marie's sister and Kirsty and Ellen walking to school, and they decide to race when German soldiers stop them, and the soldiers ask them why they are racing, and Kirsty calms the situation down a little bit by being funny but rude at the same time, and both Mrs. Rosen and Johansen are really upset to hear about the soldiers stopping the girls, and just warn them not to talk to the soldiers if that happens again. The soldiers are pretty much taking over everywhere. Shops are closing, families are disappearing, and the Johansen and the Rosens start to get really worried. After that, Anne Marie and her family help the Rosens escape to Sweden in a boat with Anne Marie's Uncle Henrik. Uncle Henrik's boat has a false bottom which hides the Rosen family. And Anne Marie has to be brave when she has to deliver a package to Uncle Henrik because her mom twisted an ankle while walking the path back to the house. While Anne Marie is walking quickly through the woods to deliver the package, some soldiers stop her, and luckily Anne Marie gets away safely and delivers the package successfully. When the war ends, Anne Marie learns that her older sister Lise was killed because she was part of the resistance, and she also saw that she was able to help her friend and is proud to be friends with Ellen. The book ends with Ellen saying that she will wear Ellen's Star of David necklace until she returns, just as a sign of friendship. Anne Marie comes from a Christian background in the book, although it's forbidden for Christians to be friends with Jews because of the Nazi rule. The Rosens and Johansen still remain friends. From the beginning of the book, we see the important theme of friendship pop up. Anne Marie and Ellen are close friends who are growing up together but truly don't understand what's going on in the world. Other than that, it's difficult. I think this book teaches students about the meaning of friendship, bravery, and the acceptance of differences. I'd say those were the major themes that popped out. And even though the Johansens were Christian, they still had a close friendship with the Rosens and made sacrifices for them. Throughout the story, we will see different aspects of the Jewish tradition. The first part of the Jewish tradition that we see is the Star of David. Ellen, Anne Marie's friend, wears a Star of David necklace, which we see that throughout the book. The Star of David is an important symbol in the Jewish tradition because it represents the Jewish faith, kind of like the cross in Christianity. In the book, the star represents how important it is that the Jews hide their beliefs. The necklace is also a sign of Anne Marie's and Ellen's friendship. It also represents Anne Marie being against the Germans. In the Jewish tradition, the Star of David is seen on synagogues, Jewish tombstones, and also the Israel flag. In chapter 4 of the book, or around there, that's when we see how the Jewish faith really is, how important it is, really is to the Rosen family. The Rosens are proud of their traditions and holidays. The Rosens attend synagogue on the Jewish New Year. The Jewish New Year is called Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is celebrated in October or September usually, and much of that day is spent in synagogue on Rosh Hashanah. Another aspect of the Jewish tradition that we see that was mentioned is Hanukkah. And on Hanukkah, the Rosens light candles and say a prayer each time they light the candles. Just a little history. Hanukkah is an 8-day celebration of the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem after the Greeks destroyed it. It's also known as the Festival of Lights. You might have already known that. The prayer that is said over the candles, I know a little bit of it because I'm half Jewish, but it starts off like Baruch Atah Adonai Elohanu. I can't pronounce anything else, but in English it's Blessed are you, Lord, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to light the lights of Hanukkah. Amen. And that's the prayer that you say over the candles. In my family, I was raised half Jewish because my dad is Jewish and my mom's Christian. So we will celebrate many of the Jewish holidays, although not all of. We don't follow all of the Jewish holidays and traditions. We celebrate Hanukkah, Passover, and the Jewish New Year. For the Jewish holidays that I mentioned, we usually do the same things that the Rosens do, except for going to synagogue. For Passover, our family usually watches the Ten Commandments, as well as eat a lot of matzah and matzah ball soup. So we're kind of, I don't know, not very traditional Jewish people. I think, as a future teacher, I think Number of the Stars would be a great multicultural book for 5th grade through the 9th grade. It could be used with older students as well. You could do many different activities with this book. Also, you could pair it with other books about the Jewish culture and the Holocaust. Like Anne Frank, I think a compare and contrast the book with Anne Frank would be with Number of the Stars. I think that would be a cool activity. Number of the Stars also has many different themes, such as friendship, bravery, and the difficulty of growing up. So you could have students explore one of the themes in the book. I would use it to have students explore more about the Jewish faith and culture. Number of the Stars brings up many discussion questions that you could discuss as a class. Some of the questions that come to mind are, how can one person make a difference? What is prejudice and why does it exist? Overall, Number of the Stars would be an excellent book included in a multicultural library for the classroom. If you will look at the attached lesson plans, for lesson number 1, this lesson would help students better understand the central ideas and themes from the book. It will also help me to see the students' comprehension level of the text. The standard that I chose for this lesson was determine a theme or central idea of a text and how it is conveyed through particular details. Provide a summary of the text distinct from personal opinions or judgments. So in the lesson before this, we would have finished reading the last 2 chapters of Number of the Stars, and as a class we would just have discussed what a theme was and the different theme possibilities for the book. The students wrote down their questions and ideas that they had, and we will discuss the possible themes that pop up throughout the story. The only materials needed for this is the book, and the objective is students will be able to determine a theme or central idea of the text. So, while reading the text during a previous lesson, students wrote down questions they had during the reading and what they thought were the themes or central ideas in the text. Based on the students' questions and ideas, the class will be broken up into 3 or 4 different groups to discuss their questions and ideas. I will walk around the room guiding each group to a specific theme or idea, and then once each group decides on a theme, they will present the theme to the class based on the content of the book, or from the book. They can use outside resources to help them complete the assignment, but in the end they'll make like a PowerPoint or a Prezi and present their theme to the class and how it was seen throughout the book. Students will be assessed based on their discussions with their groups as well as their group's theme presentations. For the adaptions, I'll have a copy of the book on tape in case students want to go back and listen to certain parts of it, or if they just want to listen to it again. I'll also provide a vocabulary list for students, with words from the book. And I'll place stronger students in groups with students that may need more help. The assignment will be done in class, and we'll have 2 or 3 class periods to create and present their theme presentation. So that was just my first lesson plan. And then if you look at lesson plan number 2, this was about inferences, and the standard I chose was refer to details and examples in the text to support what the text says explicitly and make inferences. I think this lesson will help students to make inferences based on what the text says. The question that the lesson is centered around is, what is the significance of Ellen's Star of David necklace? And throughout the story, the Star of David pops up a lot, so I think this is a good thing for them to look up and analyze. The only materials needed is the book Number the Stars, and the objective is to analyze. And while reading the text during a previous lesson, students wrote down questions that they had during the reading. These questions were literal. Today we'll be talking about inferential questions. After reading a specific chapter, the students will answer the question, what is the significance of Ellen's Star of David necklace? The students will write down their answers, and we will discuss as a class after having group discussions. The students will be assessed based on their discussions with their groups as well as their individual answers. For students who may read below grade level, I will again have a copy of the book on tape so that they can review the chapter again. I will also provide a vocabulary list for students to use for their writing. I will place some of the stronger students in groups with students that may need more help. I will also provide examples of inferential questions and answers for the students to refer to during the discussion. So before they actually do the assignment, we're going to be talking about different questions and how they'd make inferences from the book. It will all be done in class, and all questions and answers will be submitted by the end of the class period. The assignment may take 2 class periods. So those are my 2 lesson plans and my analysis and summary. I also think you could do things like character maps for this, just to analyze the different characters in the book. And there's just so much you could do with this book, but also, not just this book, but of course it would be a great addition to a multicultural library. So that was my multicultural literature study. So thank you.